Polkadot. We often talk about layer ones on this show. The way I've been thinking about Polkadot lately is as a layer 0 on which layer ones can live. So what they did here is they submitted a governance proposal for those future layer ones to earn a spot on this layer 0 network to power all sorts of applications in a more decentralized fashion than what we currently are seeing. So this news came out yesterday, right at midday. DOT was trading at about $32, $34, DOT being the native asset of the Polkadot network. Shortly after the asset was touching all-time highs up in the $43 range. So clearly investors are seeing this as a positive signal for where this network is going. I'm going to toss this to Will because Polkadot is always one of these ones where it's like, it's always almost there and it's never quite there. And it's been almost always there for the last couple of years now as they work out the kinks to this pretty complex system. This is as close to sort of the main stage debut that Polkadot has ever been, and investors seem to be rather excited about that. So I'm going to toss it to you for your initial take on Polkadot submitting a proposal for Parachain auctions slated to go live November 11th.
Totally. I think that a lot of these smart contract chains are always in that almost ready stage. I think we've only seen really Bitcoin kind of be like ready and always kind of moving. Ethereum's always trying to move to ETH2. Cosmos is almost always deploying new things. Polkadot's kind of in the same camp as you said, Zach. They're almost always preparing for some sort of new launch. Auctions on chain is going to be a huge deal for them for sure. Like you said, they kind of tout themselves as a layer 0 solution, which in techno speak basically means that they are going to be able to be the anchor for a lot of other blockchains and applications. So typically, if you're familiar with like the DeFi ecosystem, what you think of is like Ethereum is like the clearinghouse, and you have like these trading venues built on top of it. So you have a layer 1 and a layer 2. I guess you could kind of say it that way. Here, what Polkadot wants to do is be the foundation that other blockchains can build off of it. And all these blockchain ecosystems will be able to tie in to Polkadot on the base layer and then also speak to each other across the way. So then you have like this more immersive system that uses like a shared security model. It's pretty complex, and I think that's why there has been a lot of delays. It's a pretty new system. There's a lot of new tinkering with it. And that's something that Polkadot has really prided itself on, has been the ability to move with where technology is going. Compare that to Bitcoin, and even in some instances, compare that to Ethereum, where those two chains have more static governance models, and it's harder to get things done. It's harder to get Lightning done on Bitcoin. Why? Because there's so many different people involved. It took years to get a protocol change for Lightning to be able to work, and we're still seeing slow adoption there. It took a very long time for a lot of Ethereum tech to get brought up. Polkadot moves a little bit quicker on some aspects, and I think we're going to see a lot of those behind the scenes tech works come into fruition with this auction chain launch. But Naomi, I'll throw that to you.
Yeah, just on your point, Will, that you brought up, it's very interesting seeing the different models of move fast or move slow. And when you're dealing with someone's money and you have all these upgrades that are not necessarily backwards compatible, it does become an issue. There have been upgrades throughout the ecosystem in various cryptocurrencies where if someone had just kind of forgotten about their stuff, then they might lose access to it. Now, that's not something you really want from a money. You want something that you can kind of put away and not have to be dealing with it every day and just be living your life. So there is something to be said for making sure that everything is laboriously backwards compatible and you're not going to break anything, even if someone hasn't touched their crypto for a really long time. But I definitely do see the trade-offs there, and that you don't get the same innovation going onto the chain that you see on some of these other chains. But I'll throw it to you, Zach.
Yeah, we've seen, Kusama, which is Polkadot's canary network, quote unquote canary network, really capture a lot of attention and interest. And there is some usage there, but it's always sort of in this sort of like not quite fully baked, ready for prime time mode. So I'm very excited to see some of these emergent projects on Kusama sort of jump to the Polkadot layer and potentially take off from there, because it's one of these projects that has been a long time coming, and I think there's reason to be excited around it, especially around some of the shared security promises that Will alluded to. But again, this it's always been almost there. So for it to get one step closer to being actually there is actually quite interesting. It's going to be probably a bigger force in the crypto ecosystem come next year. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Let's see, Jen, any final thoughts before we wrap this thing? What do you think?
No, this story was so complicated for me to wrap my head around. And I came into the show being like, I hope I learn how a parachain auction works. And I am about halfway there. So if you have any final thoughts to help me get the other half of the way, that would be awesome. Or we can just wrap it up and I can continue learning another time.
I totally feel for you. Polkadot is one of those ecosystems that's like really hard to get your head around it because it's not exactly apples to apples to other popular networks, right? It's this layer 0, layer 1 dynamic, which is like the parachain level or whatever you want to call it. And once you kind of understand that, you kind of get half the way. But I'm still maybe 3/4. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, like we got time. We're here every day.
Yeah.